Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of Technology. My name is Manahil Hassan, and I am the chair of LyTech. I welcome you to our first event in the series, The Voice of Technology, where we host interviews with professionals in the tech industry in collaboration with Lysias. Now, I would like to ask Ramsha to introduce Lysias to all of us, and then we will move on to introducing our guests for today.
Hello, I'm Ramsha.
Hi, I'm Abiha.
And we're the society chairs of Lysias.
So Lysias is the journalism society at Lyceum, and as a society, we aim to amplify and elevate the voices of our student body to bring more attention to the opinions of our youth. So as part of Lysias, we write, we edit, we design, and through this, we learn to collaborate with not just members of our student body, but also with external guests, such as those with us today. And this gives a lot of really cool opportunities to our students.
I would like to welcome our guests for today. Our first guest for today will be Mr. Osman Shuja. We have him here with us. And our second guest for today will be Mr. Shuja Rehman. Actually, our first guest will be 15 minutes late, so we will carry on with our second guest for today. We will get to know them better in due course and hope that you all will benefit from their vast experience and expertise. Mr. Shuja Rehman, do we have you here?
Yeah, I'm right here. How's everybody?
Okay, welcome to our event. I hope you're doing well. So here is the first question.
All right.
Where are you currently working?
Just want to understand. So this group is this like a journalism group within YCM, or is it a tech group? I mean, what do you all do?
Okay, so it's a collaboration between a journalism and a tech group. So this group, all of us are interested in tech-related careers. We're all interested in digital marketing. And as for the Journalism Society present here, they're going to be practicing their interview taking skills, and they're going to be publishing this interview. So that is why we have them here today.
All right. Okay. So what are your questions? So where are you currently working? So I'm working at eBay. I'm a director there, director of product management, which is a very essential field in any software and tech company. So product management is a practice or a or a field where you're working very closely with the engineers. And all tech companies that I know of have this type of discipline, right? Be it Amazon, where I worked before, and Dell, where I've worked before, but Google, Facebook, Oracle, Salesforce, wherever you go in the, or Microsoft, you'll find this role, which is called the product manager role. They're also called product owners. They work basically closely with the engineers to come up with strategy on what to build next, as to what new features to build and how to build it. And they work closely with the engineers to kind of launch and release those features that you see. So be it Facebook, there will be many product managers, for example, on the Facebook login page, for example, or Facebook news feed. There'll be many product managers and hundreds of engineers just working on that small feature that appears small, like the news feed, but it's actually massive. Similarly, in any e-commerce company or any, for example, Amazon or eBay that do e-commerce, you'll find different areas of the website are all actually features and products. That's what we call them, like search. When you search something on Amazon, that's a search product, and there are many product managers behind it and many engineers behind it. So does that help answer your question? Do you have more?
Yes, it does. So my second question for you is, why eBay?
I mean, eBay is probably the oldest e-commerce company out there. I mean, Amazon is now more famous and much bigger, but eBay is the one who initially innovated and brought the whole idea of auctions online. Now their own auctions is a small percentage of all right, there you go. of their business, but it's just like Amazon or any other e-commerce company that you see where you can go online, search for products and buy. eBay is a great company. They have about 15,000 employees, still doing about $100 billion of GMV, which is the total sale that they do on their website. It still innovates and comes up with new products and features. So it's a great company to work for. That's why I work there. It also does not compete with its sellers. So there's a difference between Amazon and eBay, where Amazon would be also sell itself, right? It's a retailer too. What that means is they'll buy certain goods from, let's say, China and then sell themselves. eBay is slightly different. eBay is just a marketplace. What that means is that eBay itself does not buy anything. It basically connects buyers and sellers. It's like a marketplace, right? Like you go to a mall. So here the sellers are selling and buyers are buying, and we are a platform that enables both buyers and sellers to come and transact.
That was very insightful. I'm sure we all didn't know everything that you just mentioned. And I think you pretty much covered this. What does eBay do? We've understood that. So I'll move on to the next question, which is, how was your experience working with Dell and Amazon?
I mean, the experience has been great. I mean, I've been in product management and in this tech world for almost like 20 years now. So in different, when I was young and graduated from college, I mean, Dell was a company where I was a young product manager. And so there was a lot more to learn. So I used to work on one area called SEO in Dell. And then I was doing my MBA from University of Chicago. And after that, I got a job at Amazon. And Amazon, as you know, is a very, what do you call it? Like it's like a dream job for many here, right? In the US, working for Amazon or Microsoft or Google. These are considered very elite jobs or good jobs. It helps you build your resume. So when I found a job at Amazon, I was very excited. So I went to Amazon and worked there as a product manager as well. And then with your experience, you gain more experiences, you understand the industry better, and you keep on, right? You can keep moving jobs or find whatever you like best. So experience has been great. Each company has given me and taught me its own things and how to improve myself, right? So it has been a journey, and both these companies have been a crucial part of my journey.
That's very inspiring to know. And although you have mentioned that you enjoyed working at all of these places, but I would still like to ask you that out of all the places you've worked at, which was the best experience and why? Like in terms of the working environment, in terms of the colleagues that you got to work with, in terms of the promotion prospects that you had, the appreciation, taking all those factors into account, which was the best place to work at?
Yeah, it's hard to identify which is the best. I mean, I do enjoy eBay the most now, and I've been there for almost 4 years, and I think my experience here has been the best, if you want to kind of call it that way. But each company, like I mentioned, had its own unique experience, which is great in its own way. Like for example, Amazon has a very execution focused culture. There's a lot to learn at Amazon. People execute fast, they work hard, they are very customer centric. So how to think about customers first when you're designing a product or building a product or writing about a product, how do you think of customer first? That's one thing that I really learned at Amazon. And how to execute better, right? So that's my learning there. At eBay, for example, is a company that collaborates very well. So they work closely with each other and different teams, even they may be outside of your organization or department, but you collaborate very well with others. So that's what I learned at eBay, that how to move your projects ahead. And for that, you need other people. You cannot just do it yourself. You need to be able to collaborate and move forward. So every company has, like I said, has its own unique culture, and there's always something great to learn from the company and the people there. And people move as well. I have a lot of people who were at Amazon before, who now at eBay, and a lot of people from eBay go to Microsoft or back to Amazon. So that's not such a, that's also quite a common thing. So That's what I would say. And then it depends also on where you are in your career journey, right? So when you're right out of college, you're fresh, you're young, right? So those experiences are slightly different where you're doing most of the work. And as soon as you grow into management positions or leadership positions, then your basically your job, no matter what company you work for, changes, where you have to make sure that you are able to hire the best people and you're able to grow people and they do the best of the work and you're able to present them better as well. So so it's a journey, like I said, and every piece of the journey will teach you something.
Yes, I agree with that. So which company do you think will be ideal for a freshman graduate from university, like who's looking for a good job? So which company do you think would be ideal for them to join it, like if they want to join the tech industry?
You can join
or maybe which set of companies?
Depends on where you are, right? So I mean, I don't know which companies are there in Pakistan now.
No, I'm talking about the US, since this session is focused on the US.
I mean, US, there are many tech companies. I mean, US is the hub for pretty much all big tech companies exist, are here or headquartered here. And if you kind of move to California, you'll see that, you know, there are companies, you know, big and small, right? So out of college, I mean, you have kind of two options in a way. One is that if you want to join the tech company, then you can join some big renowned tech company that everybody knows about, like Microsoft, right? Everybody knows Windows and Microsoft or Facebook, right? Everybody uses that. These are very well-known companies. And there's a big advantage of joining large companies because you get to learn a lot, because there's a lot of research and technology and development and people and all that is going on. And the second option is kind to join a startup, right? A tech startup, which could be just 10 people or 20 people or even 100 people. And there you get to do bigger things because it's a smaller company. So even as a fresh college graduate or somebody who's very young can do roles or do things that only like senior managers, for example, would be able to do in a larger company. So that is one difference, but you can join any, depends on what you like. Or what type of technology you like. So joining a large company, like I said, like Facebook or Google, it is great. I think that's a good starting point. Because once you kind of have that on your resume and on your background, then it's easier for you to kind of move around. Or you can also join a startup or a small company. Both will take you places. It's not that one is better than the other.
Yes.
But the one thing, the good part is that if you join a company that does technology, that there are companies which are where the core is not technology, like a bank, for example, will also have a technology department, but the core is business is not building technology. So if you're really passionate about technology, then joining a tech company that like relies totally and solely on technology would be my choice.
Yes, agreed. So my next question for you is, why did you choose to study in the US?
That answer is pretty clear, right? I mean, you all know that a lot of people in Pakistan, right, like to go abroad and study because of the quality of education, and I was just one of them. And I was fortunate and lucky that I could do it as well. I mean, I was in St. Paul's in Karachi, and then I went to Adamji college in Karachi, and then I also did actually a couple of years in CBM, which is a university there, and then I transferred out to a university called Baylor University in US, and that was in Texas, exactly, and then different career paths start. So I mean, the main reason for US was to basically get higher education, get exposure, get closer to opportunities, which a lot of my friends in Pakistan, and I'm sure you all are also thinking about. So
at any point in your journey, did you regret your decision to go to the US for your higher education?
No, I don't think so. I mean, America does have a lot of very good quality universities, and so I never regretted any decision like that in terms of education and career. I mean,
And was it a difficult journey for you to shift from here to the US?
I mean, financially it was hard, right? That you have to kind of afford a lot of money, and in Pakistan it was a good, more comfortable lifestyle. right? Whereas here you have to, there's a lot of fees you have to pay for and do your own room and boarding and independence. So it does get harder in the beginning, but there's a lot of support. There's a lot of Pakistani and other Desi people around in universities. It's quite diverse even now more, right? So one gets settled eventually. So there is no regret, and it is a harder path because in Pakistan, I mean, you kind of all protected, living with your parents and right and all that. All you have to do is focus on your studies. Here you have to like manage everything, right? Live independently and with friends, do your own laundry, cook your own food, or do a job as well to earn some money as well. So it gets harder that way. But it's still a very enriching experience for all. So I definitely do recommend all to try that.
Thank you. That was a very helpful answer. And my next formal question is, why did you pursue a degree in computer information systems, and why from Baylor in particular?
I mean, Baylor it's a good university. I had friends in Texas, in University of Texas at Austin, so it was closer. And wanted to go to Texas mainly, so that's why I and then they get admission as well, right? I would have done it from Harvard if I had gotten in, but so it depends on where you also are able to get your admission in. And computer information systems, I wanted to be closer to engineering and computer sciences because I knew I was very passionate about that. And this is a business degree, but it has kind of keeps you close to computer information systems. So I understand what engineers work upon, like how coding works, how computer science works. There are courses in that program where you work coding as well, without like doing a full engineering and becoming an engineer, which is like all coding and computer science or whichever engineering you take. So I thought was a good middle ground. But I would suggest that if you are very passionate about technology, then you should pursue an engineering computer science degree. Now it's a lot more competitive as well. That will help you become an engineer first, and then you can do your MBA and go into product management. But I chose a path where I was a product manager from day one. So either or. So those were the reasons. And computer information systems or computer sciences was like the hot field back in 10 years ago, right? 15 years ago when I did it. And it still is. So that's why I picked that major.
Yes, it still is. So my next question for you is, what is the scope of digital marketing in today's world?
I mean, the scope of digital marketing is one piece of the puzzle, and digital marketing basically exists not only in technology, but in every industry, right? It is just marketing that is on a digital platform. The scope is big and getting bigger and bigger as the world is getting more digital and connected. So there are more channels now when it comes to digital marketing. So it is only growing, and it has become a lot more technical too. Marketing is no more about coming up with a nice ad, right? That's advertising. Marketing is actually very, very data driven and very, very customer driven as well, and how to and it has expanded in the scope, right? So it's not about putting up an ad, right? Now you can measure things. So yeah, even like a like on Facebook is digital marketing, right? Or so you're measuring engagement and building profiles and whatnot. So the scope is big and it's getting bigger, and these things will continue to grow.
Yes, even after like COVID, everything is going online, so it is moving. Like it is a high point for digital marketing. And do you feel that like revenue has changed after COVID, like positively in terms of like eBay where you're working or other e-commerce websites like Amazon, etc.?
Yeah, COVID, of course, right, had a bad impact on traditional businesses like restaurants to malls to whatever. But on the tech companies had a big benefit from a perspective that people are now just shopping online more, So yes, business grew by many percentage points, both Amazon, eBay, Target, or any online company that you are aware of. I mean, even the Zoom that we are using, right, was not so popular
Yes.
before, right? So tech companies had a great boost in terms of productivity and growth. That actually, but not all tech, depends on what industry it is, right? I mean, e-commerce or something like Zoom would naturally grow, but other companies suffered as well that need like industrial engineering or Boeing that makes airplanes, right? It was hard for them to get employees and workers to come into a factory and build a plane in that because of the pandemic. So depends on what type of business you are in. Some grew, some did not.
Yes.
Looking toward the future. So people have adjusted now how to kind of work even in that pandemic situation.
Yes, I agree. So my next question for you is, can you tell us a little more about the job opportunities that are open to you after pursuing a degree in, oh, sorry, that's not for
I
you.
can answer for that too. I mean, computer science, I mean, I'm in so many loops that I'm hiring engineers. So even computer science, there are tons and tons of opportunities, especially in the West. Computer science still a very, very hot and field that has a lot of demand and a lack of supply. So there are more engineering positions open in US than there are people that they can hire. So that's why there's a whole rush of like from India and China and Pakistan and other countries as well, where if you have an engineering degree, right, it's so much easier to find a job than any other field. Like medicine is one I feel as well, right? If you say, hey, if you're a doctor, it's easier. That is true because there's just more job openings for doctors and engineers, especially computer science engineers, than there are actually people. So job opportunities are immense, even now in e-commerce, in computer sciences, in all types of technology industries. There is still an issue with the supply, and there's more demand. And given these companies are expanding, like e-commerce is expanding. Amazon was 10 years ago was a small, tiny company 15 years ago. And now it's a trillion-dollar, multi-trillion-dollar company. So it has expanded like crazy and keeps on expanding. I mean, I live in Seattle and their Amazon's headquarters is here. They have 100,000 employees, right, in this one city. And so these companies are expanding, technology is expanding. That's why the jobs are plenty in these industries.
Yes, that's very helpful information and encouraging as well. So I also wanted to ask you about the job opportunities for people who are interested in e-commerce, like people who do not want to do like computer science or coding, and people who want to focus on perhaps towards the commerce side of it and towards maybe
Commerce is a
designing side of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're all there. It's a tech company. It's not that it's e-commerce. I mean, most of the employees at eBay would be computer science engineers, right? Because those are the ones building all the features, right? So all tech companies, I mean, computer science is the main field or expertise that they are seeking. All the others are kind of attached to the engineer, like product management. Yes, you don't need to be a computer science engineer, right, to be a product manager, but you still need to understand how technology works very well. So there's no escape from learning technology if you want to join a tech company. But yes, there are other, right? Every company has software engineers, product management managers, then UX designers. That's also another big field, right, in tech companies, which are very valuable. The UX design in how to, which is also now research based. It's not about just doing graphics, right? But it is coming up with how to solve a problem through user experience, right? So, which at the end of the day, their core skills are design, yes. Content writers, right? There's a lot of PR, communications, marketing, right? All those are fields in a tech company, and be it e-commerce or Facebook or any other, these types of tech companies typically have these types of roles. Even if they can be Google or Facebook or eBay or Amazon, but software engineer, product manager, UX designers, quality assurance folks, right, marketing, these are all fields that are open in every tech company. but the most of them will be computer science engineers. That's where the biggest demand is, right?
Yes, I agree. And that was very helpful information. So my next question from you is, what would be your advice to people looking for a job in companies like eBay, Amazon, and Dell? Like your advice in terms of education and the the work experience that they should build before applying for jobs like these.
I mean, just you have to, if you depend on what you're trying to do, but let's say you're pursuing a computer science education or engineering, then my advice to be that just be good at your job, learn the basic skills properly, and then when you are applying to companies, eBay, Amazon, and Dell or wherever, basically just prepare very well for the interviews. There are many books out there that can help you and learn about the company. So there are two things. First, how you prepare for an interview is important. Each company may have a very different interviewing style. So for example, if you apply to Google, they do very different types of estimation and analytical questions. So it's better to go in prepared. And they can also make you write some code snippets. So you need to have a strong grasp on the core skills that you have. And then research about the company. So you should know what the company does, what the company's principles are, meaning what do they value the most. So the more you know about the company, the better your interview can be, and you can ask good questions as well versus just answering. So that's what I would say. Hey Osman, I see Osman as well. So this is the Osman. It's USMAN, not
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you for joining. I would like to welcome our first guest for today as well. He was a bit late, but we can move on to his questions after we have Q&A with Mr. Shuja Rehman. And then we can talk to Mr. Osman Shuja, and we'll get to know him better as well and learn from his experience and expertise. So before we do that, let's have a quick Q&A with the audience. So if the audience has any questions with Mr. Shuja Rehman, please type your questions in the chat and Ramsha will read them out for Mr. Shuja Rehman. So I would open the chat to the audience. Do you have any questions? I'll wait for 2 minutes and then we will proceed with Mr. Osman Shuja.
A question: what made you sure about choosing this particular field? It's I guess when I was in college, computer science and engineering were fields that were had the most opportunities. That's one. And the second was that I was just personally very passionate about technology myself. I was always amazed at computers, and I remember like when I was in grade 8 and 9th, I had I had my father got me a computer, and I was like would be on it all the time. So I was just curious, and I was very curious on how all this works and what it can do. And then I learned how to make a website, and somebody who's just a young kid can make a website and make it popular on Google, right? So those things were really excited me, and I realized that this has a big future in terms of how it can be. So initially it was just my own personal interest in the field of technology, and that's what got me interested. Of course, at that point, you don't know how it would be after 20 years. So that's a different thing. But personally, I just loved computers and e-commerce and all technology products out there back in the day as well. That's what got me excited and interested in this.
Okay, so the next question is, what kind of questions should we expect during our interviews with such tech companies?
Right. So I mean, there are many kinds of questions. So I mean, there is a book that I would definitely recommend. If you're going for a product management interview, there's a book called Cracking the PM Code. And if you're going for a computer science interview, there's a book called Cracking the Computer Science Code. There's a book, there are a couple of books on it that will help you prepare for it as well. Questions are quite varied, but they do situational analysis questions. What that means is that they will ask you about what would you do given in a situation. So those are a star-based interviewing. Those are common interviewing techniques that all companies employ. But like I said, every company, especially in tech, are slightly different as well. So you should read about it on blogs and forums and books as well, or talk to people who work there, and they can give you the best advice as to exactly how that company would question, what types of answers do they value the most.
Okay, like at the end, will it be possible for you to type the name of the book that you just mentioned in the chat while Ramsha is reading out the other questions for you?
Tracking the PM interview.
Next question is, how did you choose Baylor, and what made you choose that particular university out of all others?
Well, one of the reasons is Osman, Shuja, who's here, is why I chose Baylor as well. He was a lot of my good friends, like I mentioned, were in Texas, and Baylor. I was very interested in entrepreneurship as well, which I did not pursue as a degree, but Baylor was ranked 4th in the entrepreneurship program. That's why I chose Baylor. But I mean, if you're applying to universities, I mean, there are many options in the US. So, you know, find out what they're famous for, and even what programs are good, like and then where you are and where your grades and your scores can get you in. So there are many factors and reasons, and that go into that decision.
Next question is, what difficulties did you face while transitioning and overall in your career, and how much of computer science as a career depends on intellect?
I mean, there are all kinds of challenges one faces, but those are all learning moments, right? So yes, I mean, growing with your age or in your career is challenging, but you should enjoy the journey as well. So I don't look at it that what was the difficulty per se. Things are a little harder in the beginning, but they get easier as you go along the way. So it's a matter of your skills, right? You need to continuously build your skills and keep on learning. So getting a degree is not the end of it. It is basically a starting point of the journey. It's not that you will learn everything in your college or school, but on the job is also where the learning happens. And you have to continuously learn new things and keep on improving your skills. And that is how you will overcome the challenges. And the second is people skills as well is important. Some of the conflicts that you may have in any job is not because of technology or some piece of machinery. It is typically like, how do you manage conflicts with people? What is your emotional quotient, right? So one is IQ, we talked about intellect, right? Sure, and intelligence and IQ and all those are kind of important, but they are not the only things needed. If you're hardworking, you can basically learn anything. And then the second part is, how do you deal with people? At the end of the day, you can be in a tech company or a non-tech company or at Google or working wherever. You'll be meeting with people, and you have to learn how to collaborate with people, how to work with people, and as well. So those are the two things that basically will help you grow. One is your own skills that you need to continuously, improve and keep learning. And then second is, how do you, work with people?
Next question is, what was your first thought after graduating from university? Like, did you want to initiate/start a company yourself? Or you wanted to go apply for some big company or something else regarding your career? The first thought.
I mean, the first thought was to find myself a job, right? Especially when you're in US, you're on a student visa, so it's kind of essential to find a job. But I wanted to start my own company as well, which I did, but that's a long story for a different time. So whatever you want to do, I mean, I think it's unless you have a very great startup idea and you're very passionate about it, most people, and it's quite recommended as well, is to gain some experience. And to gain experience, it is great to find a job where you can also learn the industry very well. And the job can be, like I mentioned, be it a startup or a large company. But but your main mission should not be to just, hey, now graduated, let me make some money, but to find yourself a job that can turn into a career, and you can learn the industry, the market, and all that. So learning should be the goal right after college as well. And by
I
the way,
hope that
I
was
can answer all these questions. So it should not be, doesn't need to be just me.
yeah, it's okay. We'll move on to the Q&A again at the end. So because we're running out of time, I want to get done with the questions that we have planned first. So let's move on to Mr. Osman Shuja. And your first question for today is like, where are you currently working?
First of all, I apologize for being late. I got called by
It's all right, no problem. Thank you for coming.
Yes. So I am currently working at Honeywell. For all of you who do not know Honeywell today, Honeywell is one of the largest industrial company. We play in aerospace and oil and gas and manufacturing, warehouse and building space. So we are the controls business, manufacturing company in those sectors.
Okay, so the next question
why
is
Honeywell?
why Honeywell? Yeah.
So why Honeywell? Because a lot of industrial companies are going through a transformation. They want to be an industrial software company. And I had the privilege and the honor to work with a lot of them, including GE, including Schneider, Schlumberger, Siemens. And what I learned was Honeywell was the best company to make through that transition. GE had struggled with it, and so had Siemens. So I wanted to pick the right horse, and I thought Honeywell was the right horse to help them transform themselves.
So although you've already mentioned like a lot about Honeywell, but like, could you go into a little bit more detail about what Honeywell does?
So Honeywell is a controls company. So what does that mean? In buildings and industrial world, there are a lot of systems that you have to control through software or through mechanically. So for example, in buildings, you have a control system that can control how the AC works in large commercial buildings. Similarly, in a refinery, you have a lot of controls, and we are the ones who know how to do control logic, adding software to be able to control the equipment in the building. And that's what we do really well. So in an aerospace, in a plane, avionics system that pilots use to fly, that is a control system, and that's what Honeywell makes.
That's very interesting to know. And my next question for you is, how was your experience at Spark Cognition and IBM?
Look, Spark Cognition was a company that I joined very early on. I had founded that company with a friend of mine who happens to be from Pakistan as well. And the whole idea was, how do we bring artificial intelligence to the industrial world? So how can we apply AI and change the way industrial companies are working? We had really good success. I learned a lot. I learned how to build a business. I learned about artificial intelligence. I learned about the industrial world. I was not familiar with that. So it was a very good learning experience. I also learned how to raise money. Entrepreneurship is very hard. You have to sometimes raise money. You have to find customers who don't know you, and also build product along the way. So for me, that was one of the best experiences that I have ever had. In terms of IBM, I started at IBM right out of college and as a software engineer, and then moved into sales. And IBM is at that time was doing extremely well. and I'm really honored to be able to learn from the best. So I value both experiences. They came at the right time in my career. IBM taught me how to build good software, how to sell enterprise software, and also a lot of the work ethics. IBM trained me on a lot of those things as well. And Spark Cognition was putting all of it together and changing an industry at a time when nobody knew much about artificial intelligence. So really grateful that I had that opportunity.
So that was very helpful, since Spark Cognition and IBM may be potential working places for a lot of people here. And my next question, although you've talked about it a little bit, out of all the places you have worked at, which was the best experience and why? So like in terms of the working environment, the things that you got to learn, the people that you got to work with, and the promotion prospects that you had, the appreciation that you received. So which was the best experience out of all the places you worked at?
First of all, look, it's I believe in following your passion, following what you want to do and like to do. And I've never had a job that I've not liked. And the reason is because I don't take jobs as a job. This is very meaningful to me to take something. I try to pick jobs and career choices that are meaningful, that are just beyond a paycheck. So I've always gone after things that I want to go after. Secondly, it's also a mindset. Anytime I've got a job, I have liked it, because you can always say, I don't like this about the job, but what do you really like about it? So it's a personal choice and how you think about things. So taking a positive intent, any job can be very bad, any job can be very good. So you're fortunate enough to have a job and a career. And I think having that positive mindset and saying, why do you enjoy it? And what's the purpose of the job? So going back, I would not change any of my jobs that I've done in the past. If I have to go back, I would still pick IBM or a company like IBM out of college. Then after business school, I had the honor to work for BCG, which is a premium management consulting firm, and then doing a startup like Spark Cognition. All of them have been very, very good. So having a positive intent about what you're doing and why you're doing it is important. Having said that, the Spark Cognition was a very meaningful experience for me, because starting something from scratch is hard, and I was working in an industry that was in the market that was very nascent. Market had not developed, and artificial intelligence was not known 8 or 9 years ago. So that experience is probably a very good one that I value, but I value every other experience as well.
So throughout your working experience, do you think that things have changed in the industry? Like obviously they have changed, but what I want to know is like in what ways do you think tech has come into more demand?
Absolutely. So I've been fortunate that I started working in 2002, and at that time tech had become important with e-commerce and .com. So I was fortunate enough that ever since I've started working, tech has been very important, and it continues to be more important. So yes, and I don't think it's going to go down anytime soon.
Yes, that's true. Okay, so my next question for you is, why did you choose to study in the US?
It's been my philosophy to learn from the best. And when I learned cricket, when I wanted to get coaching, I got coaching from, I was a fast bowler, I got coaching from Dennis Lilly and Wakar Yunus. Right, I tried to go to the best person. When I started working, I wanted to learn to do enterprise software, so I went to IBM. And when I wanted to go to business school, I tried to go to the best to learn and train from the best. So that has been my philosophy. So for computer science and business, US was the best place to learn. I'm a big believer in learning and learning from the best. And at that point, US was the best. And I tried to get into the best schools possible. And UT Austin was the top artificial intelligence school. It was ranked top 5. So I wanted to do that. So the whole motivation was to go the best possible school as I could, as whoever lets me in and I can afford.
So was the transition difficult for you, like from Pakistan to the US?
Question? Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, I was asking, was the transition difficult for you? Like moving from Pakistan to the US, was that difficult? Were there challenges?
Of course, there were, but nothing that drastic. I had traveled quite a bit. I had been to the US a few times before. Nothing that drastic. So
Oh, that's positive.
I was very motivated. So minor challenges were overcome. But I think 9/11 made it a little harder. But that happened in 2-3 years into my college. But other than that, no. Why did you pursue a degree in computer science?
And why from UT Austin? And which other degrees did you pursue apart from computer science?
So, computer science, when I moved to the US, this whole .com was so big. Pakistan was still behind in terms of the .com boom around 97.
Your voice is getting very low, so if you could move closer to your microphone. Thank
Is this
you.
better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
So when I moved to the US in 98, I had no idea I wanted to do computer science, but I was fascinated by artificial intelligence. So that's one thing that had caught my attention. And UT Austin was one of the top 5 AI programs in the world. And it was also priced well. It was not as expensive as some of the private schools like MIT and Stanford. So it was a really good choice for me. I was fascinated by artificial intelligence and math. And then UT Austin provided a really good platform for me to study AI. I have pursued a business degree. I have an MBA. I've also that I did that from Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern, and I am in the middle of pursuing executive education on public policy from Harvard Kennedy School. I'm a big believer in going back to school to keep learning new things. I'm also a professor at the University of Tech de Monterrey, which is the largest university in Mexico. I teach entrepreneurship and innovation there.
That's very inspiring to hear. You have a very vast experience in your industry. And my next question for you is, can you tell us a little about the job opportunities that are open to you after pursuing a degree in computer science?
I think computer science and technology are extremely hot right now from a job perspective. And even if you don't like computer science or you want to pursue a degree, you need to learn computer science. It's going to become just like you know how to use PowerPoint and Excel. Programming and tech will become like that. So you have to learn some sort of computer science. As far as opportunities are concerned, it could be as good as writing programs for large companies, doing your own startup, working, creating new products, or working in IT. So it can vary from large spectrum of opportunities. My advice would be to get as technical as possible, get hands-on as possible in your early stages in your career, because once you have the good foundation of how computers work, how programming works, how AI works, then you can always try to do different things, but it's very hard to go back to being more technical. So one of the things that I am grateful to is that I started off very technical and then started going towards business, and that technical depth has kept me, that has stayed with me. So there are a lot of opportunities depending on what you like. I think the computer science degree today allows you flexibility of doing pretty much whatever you want to do. You can go into even business related jobs if you have a computer science degree.
That's very helpful to know. It was very helpful information and will help all members of LyTech present here. So my next question for you is, what would be your advice to people looking for a career in the tech industry? Although you've already talked about this, but what I mean is that, like, what should they be working on right now at this point?
Yeah, and I think knowing that this is your passion, knowing that you know you're genuinely interested in the technology, and I want to differentiate between technology and engineering. So I was not a good engineer. That means I did not enjoy programming as much, but I was a technologist. I like technology. I can connect the dots. I know how it's going to be used in business. So you can be an okay engineer, but a good technologist, and vice versa, right? So I think the advice would be to get as technical as possible, get hands-on, and knowing how much what areas you like, what you're good at, and try to pursue that. But as Shuja was saying, you got to practice for your interviews, and how you learn how do you do these interviews is a whole different skill set. So learning what your strengths are, knowing what you enjoy, and also then preparing for it requires a lot of practice.
Yes, I agree. So now we will move on to the Q&A. We already have a lot of questions in the chat, so you can pick up a question of your choice from the chat box and you can answer it. So you can maybe take turns where maybe you can answer one and Mr. Shuja can answer one question, and then hopefully all questions of the audience will be answered this way. So please proceed.
What was your first thought after graduating from university? Like, did you want to start a company yourself, or you wanted to go apply for some big company or something else regarding your career? The first thought. The first thought, unlike Shuja, Rehman, I was not an entrepreneur at that stage of my life. I wanted to work for a big company, not even work for a startup. So thinking about starting my own startup at that point, and I think it worked out fine. I developed that entrepreneurial spirit later on in my career, but I don't know, the answer might be different for Shuja.
Yeah, I mean, I did answer it already that sure, wherever your passion resides, both both starting points can lead you to where you desire to be or even more. So it's not that one choice versus the other is better or worse. It's depends on, you know, what you want to do. And I also mentioned that right after college, you know, it's a good idea to actually, you know, learn from the industry by joining a company that is an expert in that industry. So if you want to do social media, for example, then best thing would be to, you know, gain some experience at Facebook, for example, before you make another Facebook of your own. That's also a great path. And unless you have a very compelling idea that you really believe in, where you think a startup, you know, would be the best, and people pursue that as well. So either or, really depends on you, in my opinion.
Okay, so I have a question here. It's a direct message, so it won't appear in the chat. What would be your suggestion to the one who is passionate about both math and computers? Where should they start thinking from when deciding their careers?
Look, math and computer science are very connected. So if you love math and computer science, I think you're in luck. You could do some theory, some practice, programming, practical work. But those are two very easy subjects to address in the same degree. Especially if you're interested in more sophisticated algorithmic stuff, math comes very handy.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo the same. I mean, they're very interrelated, and especially if you have a good passion and interest in math, then you can do a lot of advanced things within computer science as well. A lot of artificial intelligence now is very, very math driven. You can go into research in computer science as well. A lot of people can also get like a computer science degree with a minor in math, for example. Or computer science courses with a major in math. But overall, computer science is again sciences and engineering, so math is kind of part of it. But you can do advanced math, and if your passion is more towards math, you can go towards research in computer science as well. So it opens up, and they're very interconnected.
So the next question is, how difficult was it to get admission in UT Austin?
So UT Austin is a tough school for international students. It's not as hard as MIT or Stanford, but getting into computer science program at UT Austin is fairly hard. So I was a decent student, so I was able to get in. But things have changed in the last 20 years. It has become more difficult as the ranking for UT Austin has improved, and a lot of people have realized that it's a very good school. So, I've got to drop off. Are there any other? I can answer some questions over email if that's okay. But I have a hard stop.
Yes, that's completely fine. That's completely fine. Can you please drop your email in the chat so that people can get back to you if they have any other questions?
I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you. And hopefully this was helpful.
I'm also very thankful to you for attending, and your answers to all our questions were very helpful, and they will help us in making our career choices. Thank you.
Thank you, and good to see you, Shuja. Bye.
Yeah, and by the way, I have to drop as well. I'm already 5 minutes late, so I'll be signing off as well. So thank you.
Okay, can you also leave your email in the chat box so
Yes, sure.
people can contact you with questions? Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Your answers were very, very helpful. I'm very thankful to you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you everyone for being here. You may leave now. And I will be looking forward to your feedback on our WhatsApp group, or you can give your feedback in the feedback forms that I will be sending out later. I'm sorry if some of your questions were not addressed. You can note down the emails in the chat box, and you can reach out to the guests later on as well, and I'm sure they will answer your questions. So again, thank you for being here. I love this. I hope you have a great night. I also want to thank everyone who's here from Lysias and the chairs of Lysias in particular. Thank you for allowing us to collaborate.
Thank you for giving us a chance to collaborate.